Hi, how are you? Let's talk about the weekly log. So, just as a quick reminder, the future log, the monthly log, and the weekly log are what I would call overview logs. They really help to keep track of everything that's going on within a chunk of time. But as you'll see when we get to the daily log next, that's where the detail, moment to moment work happens. So the weekly log is an overview of your week. It can be, again, as simple as listing the days and writing down what's happening in them. It can be as complex as listing out weekly goals and tasks and ideas and appointments and having them all separate. So I'm going to show you how I use my weekly log, and then, of course, as usual, show you some examples of some other weekly logs in the description. What I suggest you be focused on in your weekly log is what's happening in that week. So when you complete a weekly log each week, typically on Sunday or Monday, what it does for you is helps you to predict what you will be working on that week and also what is needed for that week. So it mentally preps you, and it also gives you what your week is at a glance. This is where some of the tandem digital to physical work is going to happen as well. So I know that many of you use task managers online because you have a team. You probably also use a digital calendar because you have calendar scheduling happening for your company, or at least I hope you do. So we need to move those appointments, we need to move those tasks into your weekly log so you have a one at a glance place where everything is happening for your week. So it will mentally prepare you for the week. It will help you get organized. It will help you get really clear on what tasks need to happen for the week. And we're going to start pulling from your monthly log and, more importantly, your future log in order to get really clear on what needs to happen this week. There is another log that you will hear about that you will also be pulling from later on, but for now we're focused on the big four: the future log, the monthly log, the weekly log, and the daily log. So let's go ahead and start setting up your weekly log, and I will see you back here in a moment. Okay, and here we go. So, yes, I'm enthusiastically pointing. This is the weekly log. So basically the task is to divide the page into its 7 quadrants. How does one create 7 on a page? Well, you'll see how I do it. So I leave myself that little margin that I talked about, 2 dots from the top, and then I draw a line of either 4 or 5 dots, leave a space of 4 or 5 dots, and then draw another line, and then I do the same after the halfway point. As I said, you don't have to use this particular layout, but this is what I think looks pretty. And then I count 11 down. So however you're going to lay it out, the 11 down is going to be useful to you. My partner just uses boxes. Some people just write the name of the week at the top with the date. So whatever you feel like is going to work for you is totally fine. You do not have to do this centered line stuff that I do. But I count down by 11, and after the 11th dot, I write the next day of the week in, which means then the weekend is subdivided by 6. There's just less tasking and less appointments, typically, at least for me. Maybe you're different, but for me, there's less that I am tracking on the weekends and that less that is scheduled on the weekends. And so that's why the weekend gets a smaller slot. So that's the general layout that I am using. If you want to use both pages and make your week be a spread instead of a single page, that is 100% fine. You get to do what you want. I'm showing you the way that I lay out my week. And then the little bow that I just drew is so that I can keep track of birthdays happening that week. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is draw an appointment marker, and I write in my appointments first for every day. So appointments are what is absolutely taking my time. They're immutable. They come first. That's what I need to have my headspace primed for, and that is what will be taking my time. I can't really change that. It's rude to change appointments if you can help it. And then below that, I start writing in my tasks for the week. And so what you see me gesticulating is if your week, if your day is too full of appointments, then you can't write in any more tasks. And that's how I manage my balance between all of my appointments and all of my tasks. When people ask me, how do I get so much done and stay sane? This is a part of it. So now what you're going to see me doing is pulling from various parts of my bullet journal, and I've blurred it and sped it up a little bit just because I'm protecting, my own privacy as well as the identity of people that I am writing in birthdays and things like that. What you want to be doing in this is migrating from your digital calendar, your digital project manager. So if you use Asana or Trello or Notion, whatever you're using with your team in order to track tasks and projects within your work, you want to pull your personal tasks from that. And then you also want to go through your bullet journal and pull from your monthly log, your future log. You'll see in a few videos, there's a few other logs that I also use that I will suggest to you that aren't necessary. So one of the important things that I need to impress upon you in the use of your weekly log is not just the migration. So you're getting really good at migration. You've seen me showing how to migrate from my previous bullet journal and from other parts of the bullet journal in order to pull things together from many sources and make sure that nothing is missed. The weekly log is where review starts to be very important. Now, I do recommend that you do a monthly review as well, and we'll get into that in later videos when we talk about the daily use of the bullet journal. In the weekly log is where reviews start to get really, really critical. And this is where I see a lot of entrepreneurs miss. There's a lot going on for you in your business. There are always new things coming up. There are things that you learn about in meetings. There are things that land in your inbox, in your email. There are things that you never thought of that is an extra step in a project that you hadn't hashed out yet, and more. There's just tons of stuff happening all the time. It's a moving liquid thing. That means that what you put down for your week in your weekly log probably changes. Even appointment cancellations happen. So as you are going through your week, things are going to change. You're also going to miss stuff. You're going to be too tired. You're going to run out of time. Something is going to fall to the wayside. It's natural. It happens. This is the life of entrepreneur. But what this can mean is that things can get lost, and I don't want that for you. So when you create your weekly log, it is also your job to review your last week and pull anything that didn't get done, add any notes, and do some migration in the review of the past week. Now, as I mentioned when we were setting up the key, no task, no dot should be left without some sort of modifier. So either you're waiting for something, either it is migrated, etc. But if you see a dot, if you see a task that didn't get done last week in your daily logs, which we'll get to in a minute, then it needs to be migrated to the next week, migrated to the future log, or consciously chosen to be removed and crossed out. So you will still use a modifier to change that bare dot into a crossed out task. This should start to help you see how nothing gets lost in a bullet journal. There is a methodology. It's not just how do you keep track of things, it's also how do you use the bullet journal. And that's what I really want to impress on you here. Do a weekly review when you set up your weekly log. That is your job, period. That is how you'll catch things. That is how you'll make sure that nothing goes to the wayside. That is how you will ensure that if you took a note during a meeting that it doesn't get forgotten. This is where the power of the bullet journal starts to shine. All right, so now you have a feel for what the weekly log looks like and can do for you. As I said, you can use your weekly log however you want, of course, But what you really want it doing for you is being able to get you into the mindset of what's happening in the week and also determine what really is possible during that week. So if you see that you have a lot of appointments, that your slots are filled up, probably it's time to reduce some of the tasks that you're going to be doing for the week and delegating them to your future self instead. So I encourage you to use your weekly log as a thing that gets your head in the game for the week, as well as the thing that helps you stay balanced between meetings and tasking. All right, so let's take a look at the daily log so that you have an idea of how all of this flows together in action in real time. Woohoo!